Okay, we are rolling. Champions of Champions Boxing Talk is back. It's been a while since my last video, and I often tend to return when there's issues in boxing, real issues I can get my teeth into, and I generally appear like the Cape Crusader in the night. There's been a lot to digest, hasn't there? Some very important things to digest in boxing. First of all, the slight rise in quality in the heavyweight division. And of course, the real big rise of the quality of fights in the heavyweight division. Then you've got Sergey Kovolev. Dramatic events with him and his last opponent, Alvarez. You've got who might Manny Pacquiao fight in December the 2nd. And of course, two lingering issues. Will Anthony Joshua ever fight Deontay Wilder? And will Tyson Fury very, very soon fight Deontay Wilder? All of that to come in this video, right? But remember what I say, right? In boxing, when you make a prediction, always be prepared to be right in your choices, but never be shocked if you turn out to be wrong. Because after all, this is the fight game. And anything, and I mean anything, can happen. Well, let's talk about what the anythings could happen mean to the sport, right? The most significant one, in my opinion, or at least one of in the last year or two, is the Sergey Kovolev situation. His last fight, to me, I had him ahead by 2 rounds on the scorecards before he was stopped in the 7th round. I thought early on he was susceptible to the jab from Alvarez. Very sharp, quick jab. This man, Alvarez, has such fast hands and fast feet. And generally speaking, an opponent who goes up against the ropes and lets Sergey Kovolev tee off on them is in big, big trouble. One of the reasons they're in big trouble, not only the Kovolev power, but the fear and tenseness of the opponent conspires to go against them mentally. Alvarez, to me, looked comfortable, looked loose, looked like he was actually doing his own thing on the ropes rather than panicking v Kovolev. And that surprised me. I thought, you're better off trying to work close to Kovolev. Because we've seen people have success to Kovalev's body and work on the inside. But this guy was even confident he could compete against the ropes and from distance. And as I said, the hand speed was staggering. The jab actually early was staggering, and it was still good going into the mid-rounds, right? What eventually finished Sergey Kovolev, I don't believe was Andre Ward. I don't. Because the Andre Ward fights, the first one was mighty close. You could throw the winner of that, cut loads of pieces of paper together, put it in a hat, and get someone to pick out the winner. And whoever you would have picked out, Kovolev or Ward, you may not have been wrong. The second fight, controversial. Kovolev took low blow after low blow after low blow. Some people think that should never have been stopped. This guy finished Kovolev cleanly, no controversy, fairly. And that's not taking a dig at Andre Ward. He's a terrific fighter, one of the very, very best you can ask for in boxing, right? But Kovalev's reflexes, his ability to move his head away from the hand speed that Alvarez possesses, was just not there. The jab caught him time and time and time and time and time again. And at first it was shocking Kovalev. But what happened to Sergey in the end was this. He was getting used to getting hit, so he was just sort of taking it and accepting it. Until at the end he was set up with power shots in the 7th round. And really didn't react. And that was the big issue. The reflexes in boxing sometimes are left to the back burner when people analyse fights. But they are important. Sometimes in fights, strategically, you don't do much wrong. But you just don't have the reflexes to avoid what your opponent throws at you. That's just a simple fact. Some people just have that talent of hand speed and foot speed that even strategic know-how cannot overcome. I'm not saying Sergey Kovalev couldn't win in a rematch, because I had him ahead. He was starting to look stronger by, I'd say, the 3rd or 4th round on. Then went all the way to the 7th round. I had him 2 points ahead. And I was thinking at this point, he's gaining momentum. He was starting to use his good jab, his power shots. People question Kovalev's chin, right? I don't think Sergey Kovalev has the chin of Gennady Golovkin, for instance. But I still think he's capable of giving Alvarez a really good fight. So if he's 2 rounds up, this is the same sort of situation of looking back at the night Manny Pacquiao was stopped to Marquez. Now I know that was an unbelievable money shot from the heavens that beat Manny that night. But that's like saying that he was finished going into the ring against Marquez. No, he wasn't. Look at the performance prior to him being knocked out. Okay, he was knocked down early in the fight. I think it was the 3rd round v Marquez. But Pacquiao weathered, rallied, and was ahead on the cards before Marquez stopped him. And Marquez was looking worse for the weather. He looked like the guy that would be defeated that night. Right? Sometimes when fighters get knocked out, it messes with our psychology of how we see things. We start seeing things as though this guy was dominated. Let me tell you something. I know Alvarez was not in the state of Marquez during that fight against Kovalev. But Alvarez did not do to Kovalev what Lennox Lewis did to Mike Tyson. Soften him up. Hit him constantly with real devastating, left uppercuts, big right hands. Leaned on him. Really made him breathe. Was the physical force in the ring. That never happened in the Kovalev fight, really. It was a competitive fight that had a dramatic 7th round. Of course, Kovalev was dropped with big shots 3 times, but people said he lost his spirit. Well, if he lost his spirit, how come he got to his feet 3 times? Surely he would have been down and out on the first knockdown. So all of this stuff, saying Andre Ward finished Kovalev. Kovalev had won his last 2 fights quite well and become world champion again. Right? And by the way, if you think saying Andre Ward finished Kovalev is in fact getting to Kovalev fans and frustrating them, you're wrong. All you're doing is taking credit away from Alvarez, who finished Kovalev quicker than Andre Ward did. And sort of did it clean in one fight. So, That's just something for you to chew on. And here's another problem. Kovolev now has defeats on his record, obviously. And these days you lose a fight and you're finished. Let me tell you, if Kovolev would have lost that fight in 1970, or let's say going into the 80s, people would have said, what a tremendous fight. Kovolev has took a loss. Let's see if he can bounce back. There was common sense in the sport back then. There was in the 90s. I remember I was there. You know, when Lennox Lewis got knocked out to Oliver McCall, I remember people analysing things back here in the UK, talking about what Lewis could do to avoid the same thing happening again. Not saying he's finished right away. That is one of the tragedies of just coming out the Floyd Mayweather era. Every fighter now feels to market themselves, they have to have this zero. They don't. Kovolev should know, and you should know, fighters bounce back. Fighters bounce back. They're capable of bouncing back. They're talented human beings. Let it sink in a little bit. Do you know Oscar De La Hoya lost 6 fights? He also won titles in 6 weight classes. You know Muhammad Ali on record lost 5 fights. And that guy is considered to be the greatest heavyweight champion in history. Just chew on this stuff. If you're a young boxing fan, chew on this stuff. Don't pretend like you started watching boxing in 2008 or yesterday. It's embarrassing now. Sugar Ray Robinson, considered by many to be pound for pound the greatest fighter of all time. Right? He's lost. Right? If you're a Canelo Alvarez fan, he's lost. Right? It happens. Does it mean that these fighters are finished and they're not great? Blah, de, blah, de, blah. No. So let's wait on the next chapter of Kovolev. The next fight will tell us the truth about him. He's saying that he will be world champion again. As I said, Roberto Duran has done it. I mean, for God's sake, didn't we see the same thing just a month or so ago? You know, I think Pacquiao beat Jeff Horn, but it didn't look like Manny of old, right? Did Manny not go to Malaysia and retire Lucas Matisse? Coming off a controversial defeat, but did he not bounce back from that fiasco? Of course he did. Why? Because as I said, these fighters have an ingredient that the norm don't have. Sometimes, as Lennox Lewis once again said, winning and losing are the same to him. He learns something from both. And sometimes, as Sir Alex Ferguson, Man United's great manager, said, sometimes you learn more in defeat than you do in victory. And grow from there. It's not ever... How many fighters in history really did go undefeated? Great fighters. I believe many today could retire undefeated, but you're going to look at their records and you're going to have questions. But how many real great fighters in history, who you consider real upper echelon greats, retired undefeated? All right, you've got Floyd, you've got Rocky Marciano, you've got Joe Calzaghe, you've got Ricardo Lopez, but there are very, very few, and they're very far between. Today, as I said, if they're matched right, they could retire undefeated, but you're going to be able to pick holes out of those records. Unless Errol Spence, right, starts fighting Keith Thurmans and so forth, and Keith Thurman starts fighting Errol Spence, you know, and rematches Sean Porter or whatever that is in terms of opposition. If Keith Thurman retires right now with a 0, does he go down as a greater fighter than Oscar De La Hoya? You know, ask yourself that question. I'm not going to answer it for you. It's your job as a boxing fan to come up with this stuff. Ask yourself that question. If you are a real boxing fan, you will know parts of Oscar De La Hoya's history. Right? Not just the night he lost to Floyd Mayweather. You will know Oscar De La Hoya's history. You will know current Keith Thurman history. Does right now Keith one-time Thurman, right, who I think has 28 wins or 29 wins, undefeated. Oscar De La Hoya only has 39 wins and he has 6 defeats on record. Some controversial, but there you go. It's down on record as 6 defeats, unfortunately. Keith Thurman has none. 0. Is that guy better than Oscar De La Hoya? Look at it. It's in the detail. You think about it. And also, Andre Ward. When he retired at the time, I thought to myself, wow, I can't believe it. This guy could have gone on a roll and dominated the light heavyweight division. There are a few fighters, and Alvarez is one of them. And again, I'm going to leave it to you to have a look at the other new contenders in the light heavyweight division. Andre Ward is a very smart man. He's just signed a new deal to do punditry work on the sport. So, who knows? He may come back, but all things point to Andre Ward staying retired. Is he aware behind the scenes? Because you see, Andre Ward knows just because a fighter is not a big star and not selling out Las Vegas every week, that does not mean that there is not some real ability about them. Did Andre Ward see Alvarez and the rest of the light heavyweight division's crop and think, these guys are dangerous and I've done a good job in my career, it's time to call it a day? So chew on those issues. They're important. Moving on and shifting to another galaxy. The heavyweight division. The heavyweight division. I think it's gone up slightly in quality. I'm not going to say still it's the greatest division of all time, or it's the division that it was at one time. Sorry, Keith. I had to throw that in. But, by God, doesn't Derek Chisora give us entertaining fights? Do you know something? Sky Sports and Carlos Takam is a pressure fighter. He went 10 rounds with Anthony Joshua, and in sort of going into the pressure, going into the fire with Anthony Joshua, he actually did bust Anthony Joshua's nose, broke it. I know it was a head clash, but it was a rough and tumble night for Anthony Joshua, despite him winning that fight, right? Against Derek Chisora, a lot of people were concerned that Derek Chisora was taking a lot of punishment against the ropes. Big energy to the fight. Big punches being thrown. Big men. Del Boy perhaps on the last leg of a storied career, shall we say. Didn't he have a fight with Dylan White that is up there in the annals of time with the Thriller in Manila? Let me tell you something about White and Chisora. That is the fight that Las Vegas wanted Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather to have. Right? It was an unbelievable fight and war. The amount of punishment the guys took, the amount of punches they've thrown, the stamina they've shown, it was all there. The intensity. This was the same. And very, very dramatic. Right? So Carlos Takam is ahead again on my scorecards prior to the finish. Prior to that finish. But you know something? I didn't agree with Sky Sports. Surprise, surprise. They said that Derek Chisora looked in real trouble. I think that was part of Derek Chisora's strategy. He's always been able to absorb punishment. He's always had that chin, and a bit like what Alvarez looked like against Kovolev against the ropes, to me, Derek Chisora looked the looser guy. And I just knew, as the rounds were going on, Derek Chisora was starting to land the odd body shot here, the odd right hand up top. That was getting Carlos Takam's attention. Each and every round, Carlos Takam, to some people, well, I think it was closer than some people had it, but some people had Carlos Takam a mile ahead. But every round, Derek was getting a little closer to him. How many times in history I've seen them fights where the guy's still losing the round, but he's starting to get a little bit of his trademark skills into the fight. And inevitably, it's ended the fight. Rocky Marciano had done that a lot in his career. Had been on the canvas, had rose from the canvas. Not saying Derek Chisora had to do that. He was behind on the scorecards. But a little bit, he was starting to hit the boxer to the body. But losing the round, but getting 2 real good crisp body shots in. Then uppercuts. Then he would have a competitive round but still lose it. Then the next round, the boxer would throw his best. The next round, the boxer would be tired, so Marciano would be able to land more. Creeping up and up and up until the inevitable. Bang! Boxer goes down. Bang! He got up but went down again. Bang! The referee calls a halt to the fight. This is what I was sensing in the Derek Chisora fight. I expected Takam to go in there and be very, very, very dominant. As David Hayes said, a formality. Because I was quite impressed with his durability and strength against Anthony Joshua. But I could sense that Derek was getting somewhere. And then what did he do? He landed a massive, massive clubbing shot to the temple. Perfect. Didn't see that coming. Takam goes down. Takam rises to his feet. And I'm thinking in my mind it would be fantastic for Chisora right now to land a perfect right hand straight on Carlos's chin. What did he do? Just that. Just that. And Carlos Takam was away with the fairies on the canvas. Derek Chisora in that moment landed the 2 most accurate, most important punches of his career simultaneously. So now he's in line, surely, for a heavyweight fight. Like Dylan White, who also had an intense fight with Joseph Parker and a dramatic one. The headbutt that dropped Joseph Parker was not a headbutt. But let's talk about Joseph Parker. For me, he started his assault in the fight way, way too late. I don't know why he was being so conservative. Early, I thought he was winning rounds. Then, of course, I think it was a left blow to the head, which dropped Joseph Parker later on in the fight. Dylan White fought out of his skin, like Derek Chisora. Unfortunately, neither of these guys have a world title. So, if it was a world title, you would throw Chisora White the rematch in as soon as possible. But both guys now are looking to bigger fishes. That's right. So, Joseph Parker in the 12th round starts upping the pace, starts trying to become the boss in there, the aggressor, the thing he's not done now for 3 fights. This is the 3rd fight we've seen Joseph Parker not throw any caution to the wind, and he could have been on the losing side 3 times. Hughie Fury may have beaten Joseph Parker that night. He was a little bit more aggressive in the Hughie Fury fight, but he wasn't great at doing that. Against Anthony Joshua, okay, the referee kept splitting them up, but still Joseph Parker looked content to go the 12 rounds. Against Derek Chisora, or I should say against Dylan White, Joseph Parker was of the impression that back-footing on his wheels all night and trying to throw, shall we say, his hand speed onto Dillian Whyte's gloves was going to let the British referee and the judges give Joseph Parker, the foreigner, the fight. When you're away from home, surely you must know that ain't gonna work. Not in the UK. Not in the UK. If you're just doing enough to look like you're alive and around in the UK on the back foot, you're gonna lose the round. And that's all for large portions of the fight that Joseph Parker was doing. And Carl Froch was talking about this being a mentality thing with Joseph Parker. Does he have the devil in him? I don't think that's the case. I just think this is Joseph Parker's style. I don't think it's fear or a lack of warriorship or whatever, because he proved late on he could, in desperation, throw caution to the wind. I just think that's Joseph Parker. And I think if Joseph Parker was, comfortably ahead, which he wasn't, I think he'd have bored people to death all night trying to get that win. And he'd have accepted a dull, on the back foot, lazy, non-committal fight, but got his hands raised. And of course, Parker's judge, or I should say Parker's trainer, who was judging how the fight was going, was trying to get the beast out of Joseph Parker. And inevitably, Dillian Whyte was thankful that he's in the era of the 12-round fights, and this was not a 15-rounder, because Joseph Parker landed smack on that chin. And credit to Dillian Whyte for just getting up, but he was fatigued late on. He was really fatigued. He'd put a lot of work into backing Joseph Parker up, into dropping Joseph Parker, and all of that stuff. Joseph Parker went through periods of fatigue, and I was wondering why. Because to me, he hadn't done a lot of the things that he could have done. He could have stayed in the centre of the ring and gone punch for punch a little bit with Dillian Whyte. Because had he done that earlier, here's the thing, Dillian Whyte would have tired earlier because he'd have had to have done more work. Because the thing about boxing is this. It's same with football. I know it's a different sport. But you get soccer. The team that's got the ball most of the time is still running. But when you've got the ball, you're less tired than when you haven't got the ball. That is just, I don't know what it is. It's paranormal, but it's the truth. People who are playing well with the ball in possession tire less than the people without the ball having to chase it. A positive always has more energy than a negative, right? So Dillian Whyte coming forward, throwing punches, landing, getting the crowd on his side, dropping Joseph Parker, unfortunately, twice, that is going to give Dillian Whyte confidence. He's got the momentum. So Dillian Whyte at times didn't look tired till the end. Whereas Joseph Parker, on the back foot most of the evening, not committing to punches, is the guy that is looking around the ring, feeling sorry for himself, and tiring. And when he got that bit of success late on, he was energized. So, I think this is Joseph Parker, but it's something he's got to amend. Otherwise, I don't see him being world champion again. But as far as Dillian Whyte goes, I'm thinking he could get the Anthony Joshua rematch next. Right? Because I don't see the Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua fight after, Povetkin. I just don't. Right? And let's talk about that a little bit. Congratulations to Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte. This was dramatic stuff. I wish they would fight again. But of course, they're going to want titles. Here's my hope. I hope Derek Chisora stays away from Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury just has whipped that boy twice, and it was worse the second time than it was the first. He was slowly, methodically busted up by Tyson Fury. So I hope Derek Chisora finds some fighter that can motivate him, because we know Del Boy needs that motivation, but he's got terrific stamina, terrific chin, and he keeps going. As he said, he fights for the fans. Dylan White, I think, is a fighter on the rise. What a run he's been on since losing to Joshua. Right? But now it's finding them the right fights. Do I think Dylan White could beat Anthony Joshua? If he's less emotional than in the first fight, as I've said, of course, if you land the right shot in the heavyweight division, you can end a fight. It's that simple. And I've noticed he is thinking more. He is setting things up more. With a stabbing jab. With a measured power punch. At one time, to me, Dylan White was just like a hooker all over the ring. You know, throwing wild hooks. Big uppercuts that were hitting air and taking, steam out of his wheels. But now, yes, sometimes he was still doing that against Parker as the fight got dramatic. But he is more measured. Watch the Lucas Brown fight. I know Lucas Brown was a statue that night, built to be knocked down, but still, Dylan White seemed to not waste much of what he was doing. Right? And of course, he's now talking nicely about Anthony Joshua. I think that helps Dylan White. Because when you talk nicely and feel nicely about a human being, when you fight them, you're not all in the trenches. You're thinking about things. As I said, he let his animosity for Anthony Joshua get to him. And the thing is, in Dylan White's mind, Anthony Joshua and him have fought twice, as amateurs and as a pro. And the score is 1-1. Dylan White beat Anthony Joshua in the pros. I know Anthony Joshua has evolved since then. But it's something to hold on to psychologically. Right? Ultimately, I still think Anthony Joshua would win. But watching the Joshua Parker fight, I think Dylan White could give a good account of himself next time. We'll have to wait and see. So, that is a fight in the works. Where are we right now? Of course, the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. He fights again soon, doesn't he? The first fight was just a warm-up and a bit of a pantomime at that. But, and this is the but, if Deontay Wilder signs that contract to fight Tyson Fury in America next, if Deontay Wilder is thinking of a big event with Anthony Joshua, he may just have thrown that out the car window. I'm expecting Deontay Wilder to look a very frustrated man against Tyson Fury. I'm expecting Tyson Fury to throw a real spanner in the Joshua Wilder situation. To throw an almighty hammer into the works. I can see Tyson Fury winning his next fight. Still looking a little bit rusty-like, but it's third time lucky. His third training camp. A fight against the guy he can get his teeth into. And if he signs that contract, it tells you Tyson Fury is confident of beating this guy. Who fundamentally is easier to clip and hit than Klitschko, who is much smaller than Tyson Fury. Now, I'm hearing a lot of people say, it only takes a punch. Yes, it does. It really, really does. The problem with the not taking a punch thing is this. You'll always meet someone that doesn't let you meet your money punch. So therefore, you have to ask yourself, do I have the skill? to throw a jab, to jab to the body, to move to the side, to outbox the other guy, because my power shot is not available. I look at Deontay Wilder and I think, if Tyson Fury takes your power away, are you going to be the sort that makes adjustments? If Tyson Fury goes from orthodox to southpaw, are you going to be the guy that sort of reads that stuff? Because Luis Ortiz was having big success against Deontay Wilder from the southpaw stance. You're telling me a guy of Tyson Fury's know-how of boxing is not going to see this stuff? You're talking Tyson Fury, and it's daft to say this. If there is a Terence Crawford in the heavyweight division, and I'll agree with Richard Dwyer on this one, it's Tyson Fury. Where I disagree with Richard Dwyer is that somehow Deontay Wilder can get real close to Fury and throw those shots. If somebody isn't there to be hit, how can you hit him? Tyson Fury's foot speed is at least on a level with Deontay Wilder, and technically it's better, right? He places his feet better. Tyson Fury is huge. If they get into a clinch, who's going to feel it more? Tyson Fury is the younger guy. So if a guy's prime suddenly flows out the ring on that night, likelihood is it might not be Tyson Fury's. They're both powerful because they're both big men. Of course, Deontay Wilder is more powerful. Tyson Fury is not known as Mike Tyson where punching is concerned. But let me tell you something. He's got a better jab. He's got, equal hand speed. He uses it differently. He's accurate. And yes, if somebody is desperate and coming forward like a maniac, Tyson Fury has the ability to walk you onto the right shot. Nobody is thinking here. Everybody's got two scenarios. One is Tyson Fury does a clinic and outboxes Deontay Wilder. The other is Deontay Wilder is below on the scorecards early, comes back with that unpredictable wildness that he has, this athleticness, manages to buzz Tyson Fury with one and takes him out with another. So a knockout and a knockout win for Wilder and a points win for Fury. They're not looking at the possibility that the desperateness of Deontay Wilder, if he is down, could be set up and knocked out by Tyson Fury. And he's good defensively, Tyson Fury, isn't he? He is good defensively. And he's not Gerald Washington. He's not Luis Ortiz. He's a much bigger specimen, first of all. He'll be in better shape, surely, if that fight comes to the fore. He's got footwork. He's got the ability to operate at the elite level. Before Tyson Fury beat Klitschko in Germany, right? Everybody was high on Klitschko. He'd had some of his best wins. Tyson Fury that night took everything psychologically away from Klitschko. That is a fact. That Klitschko that night would be more favoured against Tyson Fury than Wilder would be against Tyson Fury. That Klitschko has more to offer in terms of boxing IQ than Deontay Wilder. And at Klitschko's own game, Tyson Fury mopped the floor with him in terms of rounds scored. Tyson Fury did not have a difficult fight with Klitschko. Granted, Klitschko did not commit to the punch. He worked on the outside against the bigger guy, which was stupid, and just got completely beaten in terms of range. As I said, speed, reflexes, footwork, bamboozled Klitschko. Klitschko should have been thinking about bodywork and going on the inside as the smaller dude. but he didn't. And Klitschko helped show the world Tyson Fury's abilities. And it was, to some judges, a 10-2 fight. There is the problem that people are saying that Deontay Wilder would get the decision in America if Tyson Fury boxes on the back foot, and it's negative. Yes, you could do that if the rounds again are competitive. But take David Lemieux. He had the power shot, didn't he? Against Billy Joe Saunders. But Saunders was winning those rounds so clearly, not even a corrupt judge could give the round to David Lemieux. So even in Canada, Billy Joe Saunders was boxing the spots of David Lemieux, was tying up at the right time, was using his speed of foot and hand, was not letting David Lemieux land. And if he did land slightly, Billy was then frustrating him, either moving out of range or, as I said, tying up. Right? He knew what David Lemieux was all about. And he knew David Lemieux was the ultimate equalizer, but I've got 5 or 6 things he doesn't have. And one of those 5 or 6 things, 2 of them at least, can get me out of trouble. My defense, my foot speed. That made then David Lemieux look a sitting duck. Right? This is the thing when you get boxers with rich IQs feed power punchers. Right? And the guy that was busted up at the end of that fight was not Billy Joe Saunders. It was David Lemieux. A guy who I picked to beat Billy Joe. Right? Because David Lemieux can set something up, I think, a little bit better than Deontay Wilder. Didn't we see again just a few weeks ago a guy who was knocked out clean 36 opponents out of his 39 wins? This guy's power is up there with, I don't care who you talk about, Keith Thurman the lot. You get hit by him, that's trouble. This is Lucas Matisse. And again, didn't we all hear, oh my God, this power, if it touches Manny Pacquiao on any sense of regularity, Manny's going to be looking up against the lights on the canvas. Steve Lillis had me shivering, was something he said before that fight. That Manny was basically going to be comfortable and then wham, there he goes. Game over. What happened? Manny's foot speed is better. Manny's defense is better. Manny has power himself. Manny has experience. Manny can only take a punch, a power punch from Lucas Matisse when he's being reckless. And Manny was not reckless. Like Billy Joe Saunders and Tyson Fury, Lucas had the punch, just about at that. As I said, Manny can hit too. Lucas had some boxing skills, not on the same earth as Manny's. Manny had the defense, the footwork, the variety of punches. We know Lucas, the left hook, the big right hand, but we know Manny, the left hook, the uppercut, the jab, the big left hand over the top, anywhere he chooses to place it, the right hook. So even though, yes, if you hit the bag and measure it, Lucas wins, the variation of punches doesn't come from Lucas. The IQ defeated Lucas just the same as the IQ beat David Lemieux and Vladimir Klitschko. If Billy Joe Saunders, pound for pound, punched as hard as Manny Pacquiao, David Lemieux would have been knocked out, maybe retired, just like Lucas Matisse. What does that tell you? If Tyson Fury is Tyson Fury, there's a big chance he wins. Because as I've said, 3 good boxing IQs in there. Billy Joe Saunders, right? Tyson Fury and Manny Pacquiao in 3 fights. Who won? It was 3 out of 3. Not once did the power puncher beat the other guy. Now again, Klitschko is not aggressive like Matisse and so forth, but it might not have mattered. Aggression didn't save Matisse. Why are we automatically presuming that Deontay Wilder's aggression will do it? Maybe only ring rust can beat Tyson Fury at this point. And again, if he does land, but will Tyson Fury let him? I'm expecting a massive shock. And for the Deontay Wilder-Anthony Joshua fight to be plummeted. And Tyson Fury there calling out Anthony Joshua. That's what I'm expecting. I'm not surprised if Deontay Wilder does find a way to win. Of course, it's boxing. And I'm comparing Tyson Fury there with one end of the scale with a man that has faced everything in Manny Pacquiao on the other. He's an expert at what he does. An iconic, all-time great at what he does. But Tyson Fury does have that element of IQ boxing genius about him, especially for this division. If he could put himself in the right shape and the right mindset fight night, the division may be coming back to him. I don't agree with Dwyer claiming Wilder is the favourite. At this point, if Fury can get back to business, I'm seeing Deontay Wilder needing to do something different to set up his power punches. He may have that. He may shock me. I don't know. But what I've seen so far equals big trouble for Deontay Wilder against Tyson Fury. Put it this way. If I was Deontay Wilder and the two guys were on their best nights, Joshua and Klitschko, I would rather fight Anthony Joshua than Klitschko. I would rather fight Anthony Joshua than Tyson Fury if Tyson Fury is on his best night. That to me is clear. But we shall wait and see. Finally, it's been a long video. And I only feel like I've been talking 5 minutes. I'm starting to become Paulie Malignaggi in my old age. Pacquiao, what does he do December 2nd? He said he's fighting again. I have an absolute strange feeling it's going to be Andre Berto. And he's going to retire Berto. Because although Berto, on the cards, I scored it a draw, beat Devin Alexander, it was a fight where constantly Andre Berto was placing himself in positions where I could just think that is absolute danger, the Manny Pacquiao. One of the situations was this. Berto kept coming on the inside against Devin Alexander and leaving his head low. What did we see from Pacquiao against Matisse? The uppercut. And Andre Berto was leaving that head out to dry more than Lucas Matisse did. Andre Berto, can he adjust to not doing that? Yes, early, but as he fatigues, that stuff might end up showing up. If it does, Pacquiao will take him out. Because on that performance, both them guys could be beat by this Manny Pacquiao on the same night. Pacquiao could beat Berto and Devin Alexander both in the ring against him. Now, going off that performance, Berto, if that fight happens, needs something different. He can't just plod forward against Manny Pacquiao like that. And of course, yet again, he does not have Jeff Horn's youth and strength and size and ability to take punishment at this point. He was dropped by Devin Alexander. Devin Alexander at times was landing, who's a southpaw, the left hand. If Devin Alexander is landing that left hand and pushing you, in my opinion, to a draw, you've got problems v Manny Pacquiao. Floyd Mayweather was there and said he would help Manny Pacquiao promote his next fight. Right? I think Floyd will feed Berto to Manny Pacquiao. And then God help Andre Berto if he doesn't make some adjustments. And I've seen Andre Berto fighting the same way now for years. And when he's actually been in tough fights like the Robert Guerrero fight, and what was the other guy? Victor Ortiz. Andre Berto has actually gone more into trench mode. Everything he does is real close to the opponent. Real close. And when I say real close, it's almost like it's smothered but not smothered. There's gaps there, and his chin being low is one of them. The feet are a problem. I think his footwork is not particularly quick and rather clumsy. I'm expecting Manny Pacquiao to do a more devastating job on Berto than Floyd Mayweather did on Berto. As I said, styles make fights. This is the wrong style for me for Andre Berto. As I said, he was being clipped by the left hand quite a few times. He was dropped by Devin Alexander. If Devin Alexander is dropping you, I don't know. Manny Pacquiao would have to go into training camp. This is the only danger. And have the same attitude he had with the Horn scenario. He would have to so badly have to overlook Berto to lose that fight. If Manny Pacquiao puts in a great training camp again, Berto's in trouble. I know Berto is the younger man, but he looks older. That fight was very scrappy, and they were both very tired at the end. Berto will come forward and try and close that space with Manny. Manny won't stay there like an orthodox fighter. Just hold on to Berto. He's side to side, under your arms, moving all over the ring. Even now. But I'm expecting the same scenario as against Lucas Matisse. I'm expecting Pacquiao. Berto's going to think he's going to move. I think Pacquiao is going to move, but going forward. And once Berto's backed up, Pacquiao knows that Berto won't go into, shall we say, counter-punching mode on the back foot. He will come into the trenches and give Manny opportunities. And there will be a time when Manny, on purpose, this sounds daft, but it's true, on purpose, Manny will let Berto grapple him. Why? Because Berto's head will be low and that left uppercut can come in. The same one that knocked Lucas Matisse down, not in the clinch or in the trenches, but Manny landed that coming in, sliding in from a distance. What do you think he's going to do when a guy is offering him that shot up close? It's just something to think about, but I think Pacquiao could be on the verge of his second knockout in succession, providing he doesn't laugh at Andre Berto in training camp. Because you still have to give Andre Berto some credit. He is determined, he is strong. He's not Conor McGregor. He's still a professional fighter. But Pacquiao has all the tools to do a number on him. It's just having that motivation. So where are we now in this marathon talk? Wow, only 6 minutes away from an hour. So there's a lot for you to think about there, and I'd get thinking if I was you, because I've done my thinking, a whole hour of it. So thanks for tuning in. The videos are going to be shorter from now on. I can't promise they'll be more consistent because, as I said, I have to talk about top names, otherwise the views just go to the click lot. And I have to talk about issues that inspire me, and hopefully they inspire you. So this is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. I'm out.